Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the VCS English Week 4, Day 4. We are entering into the second round robin. I'm Milky Cyril, and I am joined by Yulway.
Hello, I'm back again, and we have yet another MBE game. I seem to have picked a very nice series this week for myself. But more importantly, second round robin. Milky, you haven't been here all week, so have you been following
Yes.
closely? What?
Do you want the professional answer, or do you want the truth?
Let's see how well you can pretend.
Oh, right. So is this now me showing off my acting skills? Yes, of course. I've been keeping up with all of the games. I've actually been the one uploading all the games to YouTube. So when I do that, I just happen to spam through all the games. I have the games playing when I fall asleep as well. So it's a part of my conscious now.
Sure. Okay. So to catch you up, we ended with Gum being 7-0. They won their last series yesterday. So I think this is I need to check. Maybe someone can check in the meantime. This is one of the first splits where they have been 7-0 at the start. Usually they go 7-0 at the back half. So they could go 7-0 again in the back half to go 14-0.
Spring 2022.
Yeah, we need to check.
I think GAM were undefeated. I think because weren't they
Not
vying to have
entirely.
the perfect
They have
split
never
without
gone
losing any
14-0.
games?
They have never
Wasn't
gone
there a
14-0.
split where they almost went 28-0?
They went 20. Yeah, that's true.
So
They
that split, I
14-0?
think they would have been very close to going 14-0 if they didn't go 14-0.
Maybe, yeah.
And it wasn't Winter 21, so it was one of the
No,
splits
it was
last season.
no, it was spring 22. You might be right. Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember some stuff.
Yeah, very good. So other than that, we have a very close. We have kind of mirrored standings, right? We have a 5-2 team, which is Cerberus. Then we have a 2-5 team, which is Secret. Weirdly enough. Then we have 2, 4, and 3 teams, which are Wales, who play today, and also SPTC Esports. And then 2, 3, and 4 teams competing for players with those 4 and 3 teams, which are Saigon Buffalo, and of course Flash. So that's kind of the middle of the standings. And then of course we also have an 0-7 team, which is MGN Box Esports, the team we're going to see against Wales. So yeah, it's a nice little mirror image of the whole league is first and last place perfectly mirrored. Who's your biggest surprise so far for this season?
Oh, biggest surprise. It's going to sound really weird to people who don't watch the VCS that regularly, but it's GAM, because I think everyone expected GAM to be struggling with the loss of B in the support role, but they've done really, really well, and this looks to be as good of a GAM iteration as any of their previous splits. They've done fantastically well. Cerberus are also, right up there in second, right? 5 wins and 2 losses. I personally saw Cerberus as being more in the mid pack of the team behind the likes of Wales, Saigon Buffalo, maybe even SBTC. So we're starting to see 2021 Winter Cerberus coming back, and one of the main reasons for that is because, well, Ego's back in the jungle, right?
Well, sometimes, I guess.
Sometimes.
He actually did play a game yesterday, 2 days ago, whenever he was playing. He did play. He did come in after they lost the game. He came in and he looked pretty decent. So maybe we can expect more Ego. I would like to see more Ego. I know you're more on the fence about Ego. You're more like.
Oh, I love Ego.
You love
Ego.
Ego.
I get to talk about Ego Rift Herald. It's my favorite thing.
Exactly. And I believe he actually managed to do an Ego Rift Herald too, which Marby was very pleased about.
Some things never change in the VCS. You've got your Renekton's, you've got your Alistairs, and of course, Ego Rift Heralds. Should we start talking a little bit about the series at hand, and then we can have a bit of time later to go back to talking about the standings as a whole and kind of holistically looking at teams' performances in the first round robin. MG and Box Esports, 0-7, 0-14. I feel like their scoreline is a little bit non-representative of how they've played, because every now and then there does seem to be games where they look like they are playing well, and it looks like they have at times deserved at least one game win, not a series win, but a game win.
Okay, we have to head into draft, but I'll address that first because, yeah, I had to sit here yesterday alone talking about MGN Box Esports, so I'm quite down on them. So the thing is, they do sometimes get advantages in the early game. They sometimes even get close in the mid and late game. The problem is, the big problem, and why I actually believe it's very possible for them to go 0-28 in game score, is their macro and their mid and late game is so much worse than all the other teams. Like, it's not in the same league. It's as if you were playing 2 or 3 divisions higher than your actual skill level and that aspect of the game, that they will squander every single lead they accrue in the early game. And you can really see this. We can study this together here in this game again and see if they made improvements, because yesterday I was talking about this quite a lot. Whenever it comes to objective setups, their control about their river control, their choke control, everything related to setting up dragons, setting up barons, is so much worse than all the other teams that even if they're ahead, even if they have a good team composition, they just end up losing from almost unlosable positions. So I do agree they've been showing us some better early games than some of our really woeful teams, but unfortunately their mid and late game is maybe the worst I've ever seen in the VCS.
Well, you talk about their late game being questionable, but their early games being good. They've locked in the Draven to pair with the Nautilus, and maybe if MG and Box Esports can say, look, we're not even going to go into the late game, we potentially have a chance of winning. And something that I would like to direct everyone's attention to, look who's playing for support for Team Wales. It is not B, CBL coming in, and maybe Wales just disrespecting Box Esports a little bit here.
Wait, B is not... My god, what have you done to B? What have you done to poor B? Okay, CBL against B, of course, used to be that hype. No, actually, that was Palette against CBL, ignore me. CBL has been on a downtrend in terms of his career trajectory, while B had his best year ever last year, so it's very surprising to see him sub in for the likes of B. What do you think about these lineups so far in terms of champions? We have tank and double ADC for Wales, but it's double ADC with very low damage because it's Varus and Ashe, so they still, to me, need to pick up a little bit of DPS to make this team composition shine in the late game. So I expect to see something like an Azir, Victor comes to mind, anything in that direction, an Aurelian Soul maybe, we haven't seen one. I want to see one, that would be fun. So
that
yeah,
would be awesome,
that
and it is
really
Glory.
fun.
And we always know that Glory likes to play these big champions that can pop off in the game. Don't really see him on kind of utility mid laners that frequently.
Nah. Don't give me Rice again. Oh, come on. VCS players really still like Rice, and you can see his win rate is very high here over here as well. 60% win rate on Rice. We have seen some really peculiar win rates develop over the course of this weekend, where, for example, Gragas is performing abysmally in the VCS, which is very surprising because he's super high prio everywhere in the world. He is still high prio, you can see he's banned first 3, but he's not winning any games. And some of the other champions that are super strong across the globe have the same kind of trend here. So it's always fun to see VCS being a little bit special. We love you for being special, VCS.
I think we've got a bug because you can see Zodiac's support icon flashing, suggesting that he's locking in. But that means that Slows has already locked something in.
Come on. Dragon! MBE, I like you again. Let's go, Dragon. And I actually really like this, because yesterday I was talking about this. In game 1 against Flash, they played a team fighting composition with Jinx on Slows, and Slows actually played great, and they could have won the game just by brute forcing teamfights. Unfortunately, the rest of the composition was not set up to support this teamfight idea. So after this game, I theorized that the easiest way for MBE to win a game in the VCS when they're so far behind in terms of macro and setting up objectives is just play the stupidest teamfight composition you can find with hyper carries and unbeatable late game champions. Hope that you get into the late game at with one of those comps, get a Jinx into 4-item territory, get an Aurelian Soul into 4-item territory, and it doesn't really matter how bad you are because those champions are just broken. So I really like this Aurelian Soul pick. Just get him to 4 items, maybe Wales plays a little bit silly, and suddenly you win a game. This is a good chance for MBE to finally win a game. I'm excited.
I'm very excited. You got the Draven Nautilus. Things are looking good in the bottom lane just from that. And then you've added in an Aurelion Soul. So much rotation potential. And I think Wales have to be very scared in their bottom lane. Would just also like to add, because I know you have a point to interject with Yulway, Vit is, I believe, the worst performing lane ADC in the VCS. -9 CS.
He's
at
worse than
15 minutes on
Slows?
average. I think so. I will double check this right now.
Because the thing with Slows is he has played a lot of Draven games. He's obviously not won any because this team hasn't won a game, so those stats are very easy to check. But Slows has been really, really bad, in my opinion, especially on Draven. So while I like the team playing Draven because it adds that X factor, that unknowable, into the lineup, it maybe gives them a chance at winning, I also really hate watching Slows Draven because I think he's really bad on Draven.
Statistically, Slows is better at laning. Slows -9 CS, Vit -9.8 CS. Although I don't know if that's because Vit's laning with B and B's never in lane because he's always roaming. So I don't know if the change in support is going to have any effects on that.
I mean, CBL is not really known for his laning either, so it's not really the support you would pair your ADC with if you wanted to just stay in lane. Those are probably more like Taki. Zuhao comes to mind as someone who lanes really well or used to lane really well. He's not really doing too hot right now, but CBL also, his best iteration ever, the year he won the championship, was Thresh meta. He was amazing at Thresh. CBL and Slater together were able to dominate the bot lane there with Thresh, with all those hook champions. So that's something to look out for. Of course, in this game, he's going Ashe, which is even more surprising because Ashe is a really good B champion. B has looked really strong on the Ashe. So I hate when we see...
B, and they just put the wrong name in. I didn't actually take a look on the video.
On the player usually they don't do stuff like that. But yeah, it's really confusing to me to sub out your support, because in my opinion there's almost nothing to gain from subbing support, especially if your main support is B, and obviously the support you want to go with is B, because he's the best shot caller in the region and just won 2 titles back to back. Subbing out, for example, an ADC makes much more sense to me, or a jungler, because maybe they have a different champion pool, a mid lane as well, where maybe they bring a new champion pool, maybe they bring some spicy strategy. But subbing a support is just weird to me, because first, you break up synergy. Why? Makes no sense. And then also, the support is not really there to dominate mechanically or anything, right? He's more there to hold everything together, to get the game plan going and so on, be in the right places at the right time. So there isn't really anything you can gain. Yeah, be at the right places, exactly. B-I-E in the right places. So yeah, this is just strange to me. Maybe B's not feeling well. I hope not, because we know he has a history of falling quite ill. So that could be one of the reasons. We will have to investigate with our Discord contacts. Maybe they know a little bit more, but let's hope he feels well. That's actually my main concern now, seeing him not starting here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if this was another sport, we could say, B's being rested, right? Because if you play too many games, you get a bit of fatigue, fitness issues. But I don't think that is necessarily the case. There could also just be potentially contract stuff, and maybe CBL was told that, look, you're going to be a sub-support, but you will get a minimum number of games over the split. And now, whereas I'm saying, if we're going to put CBL in for any game, we're going to put him in when we play against Box Esports, because that is theoretically and statistically, when you look at the standings, the easiest game for Wales.
Yeah, I mean, it should be free. And as I said before, we have a completely different draft. Never mind, they were redoing draft. I thought redoing meant, okay, we are just going through it again. But nope, Milky, we have to go into draft again, because this looks quite different. We are not looking at a Draven now. Struggling to find the draft music. There we go. And we don't have a Draven. Instead, we have a Vi first pick into Lucian Nami now for MBE, which I absolutely despise for this team, because this means it's full early game, and they are not good enough to win with an early game lead. Just pick late game champions.
But I thought we said your way that they aren't good enough to have the macro to win in a late game. So
yeah. But the thing is, they're... Yes, they don't have the macro to win, But at some point, if you get to a 30-minute team fight with a 4-item Jinx and a 4-item Aurelion Sol, you don't need any macro. The champions just win the game alone. I think that's a better chance. I mean, we can debate this, but I think watching their games, that's a better chance for them to win a game than going full early game, because the issue with going full early game is even if they get to a 5k gold lead, which is very unlikely, they're still the worst early game team in the league, even though their early games have been looking alright. But even if they get to a 5k gold lead, if you set up dragons and barons incorrectly every single time, how can you close the game? So I feel like this is just the wrong read for this team. Maybe they're winning scrims, which I could see, right? You're winning scrims because the enemy team doesn't ever play out the late game situations. That's why you try to index into early game, because it's working in scrims. But as long as your macro doesn't improve, I don't think you can ever really front run to victory with this team.
Something else I seem to remember you mentioning your way was Box Esports struggle just being able to start up fights, but with a Vi, with this Gnar, maybe Silas as well being able to steal some big ults, they do have that engaged potential. We'll see though what Box Esports want to lock in the mid lane. Out of everything they hovered, Akali's probably the one that does the least of being able to start up a fight.
Leah. Talia's a little curious here, because it doesn't really fit the rest of the composition. I like Talia as a champion in general. Very defensive, very lot of zoning, a lot of choke control, which is exactly what MBE struggles with. I'm not so sure if I like the combination of Talia, Vi, Gnar, because it doesn't really like to do the same thing. I hope Nugu doesn't over-index into assisting his divers and then just ults into the backline. That would be his demise. I am a little bit worried about Sion becoming absolutely unkillable. If you look at this team composition, Lucian Army usually much stronger at poking down squishy targets and dominating like space and just having a lot of poke damage. That doesn't really affect the Sion too much. So if I look at this team composition, I think the Sion is the big worry for MBE in team fights, because if he gets to 200 CS, 2 items, I don't think anyone can really go past him. But overall, a little bit of a strange composition from both sides, I'd say. Team Wales with the Grace jungle. We haven't seen Grace jungle in a really long time, so we know it's Killer Queen, so Killer Queen Grace sounds pretty good. But yeah, Milky,
I think he's always been a good champion for him as well, and back when it was Blaze's mid lane for Team Wales, or was it for Burst of Sky? And then he went jungle, played on the Graves, absolutely destroyed Levi, then lost the game, which I will bring up every single time I see a Graves. But this is looking like a decent composition for Team Wales, particularly that Graves, and that is what I want to be focusing on for the majority of the game, because it is a Killer Queen-esque champion.
Yeah, absolutely. And Killer Queen has looked transformed so far in 2023. His aggression is almost entirely gone. Wales, actually, at the start of the split, we thought they played a very defensive style, a very cautious style. So let's see what they do with Graves. Once again, a little bit more of a Killer Queen, Killer Instinct jungler as we head to the Rift. And I expect them maybe to look a little bit more explosive here, especially as they play against the worst team in the league, the 0-14 team in the league. Wales can probably cook a little bit more in this matchup.
Are you suggesting, your way, that we should let them cook?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. I like it. Team Wales already trying to just cook a little bit, cook some damage up onto slows.
Pomid Sion.
Then we'll just be able... Is that actually... Oh my god.
Yeah, we've already been in the kitchen.
Like that,
I think we've dipped into the kitchen already for a bit for Nagia here, as the Comet Sion is coming in. So it does make sense.
I have a theory.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we're going to see insane aggression from Team Wales. I think we're going to see the Team Wales of 2022, particularly from Killer Queen. Do you want to know why I think that, though? Or can you guess why I think that?
An Adam incident? No.
An Adam incident?
Oh, you haven't watched Early C? Oh no, Milky.
What's happened?
Okay, you need to watch that game. Let's see if it happens again. So, in LEC, this happened over in LEC in week 1, where Adam played Sion and didn't actually go into lane. He leashed the first 3 camps for his jungler in the bottom quadrant of the enemy's jungle, and then they dove bot lane. It went horribly wrong for them because the Sion got interrupted when he tried to teleport back into lane. The idea is still pretty solid though, but you can see MBE instantly, they have watched the tape, they know what's up. They put a ward down here to defend, and they are now fully aware of this dive coming in. Killer Queen is gonna hit level 3 of these minions if he gets all of them. Yeah, there he is. But they can't get the kills on the dive, or can they?
And it does mean that Slows has no CS at all. And when you're playing Lucian with a Lucian Nami, you want to be trying to get this early lead. And Nagira and Killer Queen are just preventing the bot lane duo of Box Esports from approaching this wave.
Okay, we need to clear something up. Lucian Nami into Varus Ashe is not a winning lane. It is not.
No, it's not a winning lane, but it's the idea of a Lucian Nami.
No, you do not get an early advantage on Lucian Nami into Ashe. Like, this is like something that a lot of people are still saying, which has not been true for like half a year now. Lucian Nami is more of a mid-game comp. They are not actually that amazing, especially level 1, level 2. They get better level 3, but especially into Ashe Varus, they will never win lane. So, this is, of course, this is still a really bad situation, but it's not like Lucian Nami needs to be ahead level 1. On the other hand, the Sion has 3 CS in the top side, so let's see how Sion can actually deal with this disadvantage now. Usually, Sion doesn't really care too much, but into now, I could actually see Sunma trying to play aggressively and using his hyperprocs to really chase down Nagia and, make his life a living hell. But this is, speaking of living hell, yikes.
Well, Zodiac and Slows have been able to get under their tower, but it has cost them a fair amount of resources. Heal had to be used as well for Zodiac, and Killer Queen is still hovering around. He is not leaving this bottom lane. Zodiac chunked precariously low, and Killer Queen is starting to make his approach. Tom Rio is here as well. Will get spotted out by Killer Queen, and Killer Queen himself has been spotted as he drops down a ward, and Tom Rio drops down a ward of his own. Surely Box Esports can't look for an engage. The bot lane duo is just too low.
Yeah, it's a good defensive move though from Tom Rio. If you look at the oh no, come on Killer Queen, leave them alone, please. Stop bullying them. Go into your jungle and farm. No, the mid lane is coming too. Look at Glory. Glory's moving down.
Well, Glory's coming down, and we're looking at a glorious start to the game for Team Wales. We said that Team Wales were cooking something up, and it might be destruction in the bottom lane. In goes Killer Queen looking for first. Slows will fall. CBL stays alive. 2 kills for Team Wales. And Tom Rio is left to run with his tail between his legs.
Oh, it's the horror show, Milky. What did we just watch? Imagine being this bot lane from the side of MBE. How bad do you feel? How hard are you flaming all your teammates? My god. He has 7 CS, Milky. He has 7 CS to 39.
Do you know what the saddest thing about all of this is? The fact that Glory is now 2-0 and has a CS lead over Nugu.
And I wanted to... we don't actually get to talk... But we saw the dive. We don't need to talk about the dive because there was nothing for them to do. But look at the map right now. Tom Rio had to adapt his jungle pathing to the most awkward pathing I've ever seen. So he knows the bot side is quadrant is taken, right? So he goes into the top quadrant of the enemy jungle and only takes the red buff because, of course, he wanted to counter jungle all those camps, but the bot lane is screaming for him to cover. So he runs into the enemy jungle, clears their red buff, and then goes to his own bot lane without taking any other camp, arrives there at 17 CS. That's one of the most... that is such a horrible feeling, such a horrible path to have to take for Tom Rio to defend his bot lane, and then it still backfires because your mid lane is AFK and Glory just runs into bot lane too. This game has to feel so unbelievably bad to play for the side of Tom Rio, Slows, and Zodiac, because honestly they did everything in their power to prevent this from happening. Sure, there were some missteps in terms of getting poked down a little bit too much, especially Zodiac walking up and having to flash away from Vit's Q earlier on. But they tried in the macro sense to prevent this from happening. They sent their jungler there to prevent the dive, but they still walk away, getting dived on. 3 platings down in the early game. Almost a 3k gold lead at 6 minutes.
I'm laughing, but this is just so incredibly cruel.
It's
Both
so
Glory
sad.
and Vit have a 1k goal lead. You know what this is, your way? I think the teams heard us talking about VCS difference, and they said, right, we're changing that. We're going to get it from minus 9.8 to about minus 5 in 2 games.
Oh, no. Oh. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for this team. So, obviously, we talked about this before. Obviously, they didn't get into this league organically.
Oh, Nagia.
They didn't qualify. Nagia, please don't. Come on, Nagia. Let them play the game for 2 seconds.
Attention, all passengers in Nagia train arriving at platform level 2. Now, Zodiac gets absolutely blown to shreds. Nagia is certainly going to all die. Summoner teleporting in. CBL thrown under tower.
What are we doing?
Tom Rio is still alive. Now, Box Esports have got 1 kill, but their health bars are precariously low. Aqua Prison will lock down Vit. Vit's alive, will eventually fall. Killer Queen is solo, tanking the tower.
Nugu, no!
Nugu, but he can't find the kill onto Killer Queen. And Glory just trying his best to sidestep all the skill shots, forced to flash out of the wall. And in the end, Box Esports, I think they get 2 for 2.
Does someone have circus music for me to play? What? Okay, Team Wales is going full meme in this game, and Box Esports is trying to prevent the meme from happening. This was, once again, a good counter-dive setup there from Sunmost TP coming in, Nugo also arriving. It's still a pretty even trade, honestly still in Wales' favor, even after MBE gets a few kills down here, but... Come on, guys. Let them play, please.
I need to send this to my friends and show them exactly how you play around bot lane. I would absolutely love to see this in my games.
So Nagia completely sensed it. He's inching out of his mind, but look at the health bars. This could have gone really badly too. This could have gone even worse, but the bubble is good from Zodiac. Zodiac has to die for it. Slows flashes away and stays alive with 2 HP. So, yeah, Nugu, I mean, your stone thingy does not fly past targets. I'm not sure what you are trying to aim at, flashing at the full HP target there to try and execute the one behind him, but that's
Maybe
not how the threaded
vision.
volley works. Yeah, I guess so. He was probably a bit hyped because his team was actually winning the fight there, but not the greatest flash. But still, I mean, MBE, the gold lead has shrunk from 2.5k to only 2k, so 2 more of these plays and we might be back to even.
Might be back to even. It's still a 2k goal deficit. Here comes the engage though onto Glory. No flash available for the Team Wales mid laner, but a lot of damage with the Chaos Storm. Not enough to turn the play around. And Nugu claims a very, very large shutdown.
Good one. Very nice. Oh. Okay, so the lane swap is coming in because there are more platings to mine in the top lane. There's only 1 remaining in bot lane, so they are not very interested in that tower anymore. They shift their powers into top lane. Instantly 2 tower platings taken. It's pretty good rotations from Wales. I'm a little bit confused as to why they show this kind of game with so many pre-planned strategies against MBE. I feel like it's almost a little bit of a waste of strategic depth. Maybe it's a bit of a on-stage scrim experience almost, but I feel like this could have been used against someone like Cerberus or Gum to get a big advantage there.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow onto Tom Rio, forced to flash away. Killer Queen tanking tower shot. CBL will take a very big tower shot. And maybe, I think it's just how the VCS works right now. First of all, you try it in Practice Tour, then you try it in Flex, then you try it in Scrims, then you try it against Box Esports, and then you try it against an actual team.
I'm glad you added so many steps before Box Esports. That could have gone really bad. Could have been like, first you try it in solo queue, then you try it against Box, and then you try it in Scrims.
Yeah.
That's probably more realistic, honestly. But
that's a bit harsh, and I'm not quite that evil yet. I leave those jokes for Carricks.
We don't actually know if Box Esports is getting scrims against VCS teams, but from the strategies they are showing on stage actually kind of tell me that they are doing all right in scrims, probably in the early game too, because they keep picking these early game and lane compositions and keep faltering later on in the game. And my read would be, I mean, this is all conjecture, right? I could be completely wrong. They could be only scrimming VCSB teams or like PCSB teams or whatever.
LJL teams.
Yeah, exactly. Nice little LJL command there, if you want a bit of insight. But The read for me is they are actually doing alright in scrims, probably not great, but alright, and are not getting to practice their mid and late game. That's where they falter on stage, because they just can't practice it.
Well, Zodiac just can't practice playing the game. He lands a very good Aqua Prism, but the slows from CBL's autos are just too much to allow Fishy to escape from 3 members of Team Wells. And now with the Rift Tower dropped in the mid lane, this is going to be some nice tower plays going over to Glory, and he'll re-establish his gold lead over Nugu.
Yeah, 4-1, Victor, well on his way to the Glorious Evolution, one of Crincy's favorite talking points, I believe. He's already sitting on more than 200 stacks, so he's very, very close to completing that full evolution super early on in the game, which is a big power spike. And talking about Wales as a whole, look at all the platings they've taken. 3 in top lane, 2 in mid lane, 4 in bot lane, so this is one of the biggest plating games I've seen in a while.
Vic just baiting in the bottom lane, and as you mentioned, a lot of plates have been secured. First tower, though, still up for grabs. And we'll see where Team Wells want to play as Tom Rio looking for an engage, but Killer Queen is here. The bait from Team Wells, though, doesn't matter. Vic getting chunked down super low. Now it's 3v2. The wave will get the knock-up onto CBL as in comes the Nagia train. Zodiac left with nowhere to go. Doesn't have a flash, doesn't have any way out. CBL being chunked down low, forced to use the barrier, flashes away.
Oh, come on, Nagia!
And in comes Killer Queen, and down goes Slows, down goes Nugu. Team Wells with 4 for 1.
Oh, what is happening in this game? I don't understand. Do you see the flash from the gear? That was one of the chattest flashes I've ever seen. He just flashed over him onto the tower.
I'll need to rewatch that. I didn't quite catch it.
Also really like how CBL is just throwing down the gauntlet, is the far better ADC in this lane. His ADC is just inting his face off, and he's auto-attacking as if there was no tomorrow. Really nice ADC performance from CBL. I'm seeing an opening here for CBL ADC B support.
Yeah, it's a little bit like when we duo queue and I'm like, oh, can I play Senna?
I mean, yeah.
No, it's not quite like that. Our solo queue tends to be me just sprinting it down the entire way through, really nice and trying to cross the arrow. Much damage, he's just done for ages. Let the fish swim.
Oh, I feel so bad for him. Honestly, half of the deaths in this game he couldn't have prevented. This one maybe a little bit more because his flash wasn't up. So yeah, I guess Ash Arrow into Victor Burst is quite dangerous for squishy little fish support. But this game has gotten out of hand quite quickly, and this is more of the Team Wales we all expected at the start of the season, right? We looked at this roster, we saw Glory, Killer Queen paired together, and we thought, okay, this is gonna be full steam into the disaster for either team. It's just gonna be one of the two teams is gonna cry after the match. We don't know which one, but one of the two teams is gonna cry. They've been looking very much more like GAM and SGB at the start, more cautious, measured, as Nugu is gonna die again. Unfortunately, there's a lot of long-range poke and execution damage available to this Wales composition, and they found themselves another little Rift Herald.
They have, and that will be... What do people call the second Rift Herald? Kelly? No. Shirley, right. Shirley will be secured. I call it Kelly. The Zodiac being chunked down a bit, although heals himself up with Nami things, but Team Wells just looking incredibly confident. 7k gold ahead, as in comes Nagia Express once again. Zodiac and Slows will be able to make their way out to safety, but their tower will not be standing for much longer. Slows on the run, has to be very careful from the amount of damage coming from this Victor. Cease and desist comes through, knocked up is Glory. Very nice Gnar engager coming through from Sunma, and it is a shutdown onto the Victor, but will Team Wells be able to win the back end of the fight? They are in a 4v5, but they don't have health bars on their side. As you mentioned before, you'll wait a lot of long-range poke will allow Team Wells to be able to escape.
Zodiac stayed alive in the fight. That's all I care about. Nami lives matter. We do need to see this Nami survive some of the fights, because this has been a bit too much bullying for the poor support player. Even though Zodiac is not a player I particularly like, this is not okay.
I'm pretty sure this is literally cyberbullying. If you look in the dictionary or look on Urban Dictionary, it will say what Team Wales did to Zodiac.
Slows isn't really much better off. Look at him, just all the things in front of him. Now the Victor ult comes and Slows just screaming at Tom Rio, "Leave me alone! Why are you playing against me now as well?"
And that Chaos Storm was so big for Team Wales because Box Esports could have hands down won the fight, but the Chaos Storm just zoned 2 members of Box Esports away from the fight. So while it was a 5v4 in effectiveness, it was a 3v4 with Team Wales having the number advantage.
Yeah, those long-range zoning tools are quite strong in a lot of situations. That's also why I like Talia, but unfortunately Nugu so far with a little bit of a lackluster Talia performance. I mean, his stats look fine. 2-1 and his CSing is alright. But yeah, some of the instances...
And you look at Glory.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's not his fault though. Like, everyone has been inching into Glory, so it's not really on Nugu. That's when the rest of the team rides mid-diff and you're like... Guys,
bro, were you watching the game?
You died bot lane against my mid laner. That is not my fault. I mean, it kind of is his fault, to be honest. But
yeah.
Regardless, okay. Nugu has been having a decent game. I think this game is actually not about the individual players much. It's just some unfortunate mishaps in the defensive plays, and honestly, just good planning from Wales. If you go back to the early game, MBE, as I said before, actually had the answers. They adapted their pathing. They came to defend against the DICE, but it just wasn't enough.
I mean, they had the answers, just that they weren't necessarily the right answers.
It's weird.
They were the right answers.
They were the right answers, but maybe their handwriting was illegible, so they didn't count anyway.
You know, as someone
that's probably it, right?
Teaching at a school, I've had to look at some exam papers or, marks and mocks. And my God, some children just have, no desire to write. There was this one person whose handwriting was about a quarter of the height of how tall words normally are. So every single word, and it was all, in italics as well, or italics.
Nice.
And every single letter looked like an N, but, very subtly different.
Now that is probably just MBE handing in the correct answers for the exam, but the teacher can't read them, so...
Aqua Prison, and this time it's Box Esports saying, look, whatever you guys can do, we can do the same. And Team Wales say, sure, you get a kill, but what can you do for the rest of the fight? And Box Esports say, look, we can escape, so it's just 1 kill for nothing for Box.
They get the kill, so that's a good start. I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do with this kill, because they're still seeding positioning on the map. Maybe we can find Vit. Vit is in a really awkward position. He does a flash, though. So it should be fine.
Your way. It's time, I think, for a milky minigame. And that is, who is going to lose their perfect KDA first? CBL or Sunma?
Probably Sunma, but he's kind of trying to avoid all fights. So I think I'm going to go spicy and say CBL, because he's going to, I don't know, flash forwards and try to show Vit that he's the better ADC and deal more damage. Because Sunma, look at Sunma. Sunma's always as far away as possible from the enemy team. I think he's figured out how to play as MBE. Just run away, don't ever fight, just go into side lanes.
He's trying to improve the macro of Box Esports, saying, look, we can split push, we can play 1-4. Teleport's now coming in from Box Esports as they are looking to contest the Baron. So many spells being thrown at Tom Rio. Then he walks into a Glory, who picks up a free kill. Nugu forced away, and I think Flash didn't actually have it off at cooldown. So it's just a kill for Team Wales and a Baron as well. They are nearly 10k gold ahead, and they probably will be 10k gold ahead after this Baron power play.
The first pick Vi, still a little bit of a strange one. I'm not entirely sure why you would try to first pick Vi here, especially with Tom Rio being your best performer so far this split. I think you should just try to give him something where he has the potential to carry later on. I think we saw him on GAM actually playing the Hecarim, if I remember correctly, in the one series he played last year. And he looked decent on the Hecarim. I would like to see some such champion, a hard carry jungle champion, just try to ignore the lanes and carry later team fights. But the Vi is not it so far.
Look, I'm going to be honest with you, you'll wait. The Vi hasn't been it, but I feel like it's wrong to pinpoint the Vi as the issue in this
It's not
game.
his fault, but it's the like the champion has not been it. I don't think Tom Rio has much
Nagia
had much to
Express
do with
to
it.
escape from the play as Tom Rio will fall. Another kill for Team Wales. I feel like no one particular person has been the issue this game.
Yeah.
This has just been,
Agreed.
you talked about Box Esports lacking macro. Team Wales saying, look, what happens if we take macro and we put it into the first 2 minutes of the game? And it's worked out fantastically for them as a very nice enchanted crystal arrow will land, and that is a knock-up as well. Good stopwatch, but I have a feeling that Nugu is going to die as soon as he comes out of stasis as Vit falls on the back end of the fire. I'm not quite sure what killed him, but a 1-for-1 under the bot lane inhibitor tower. Team Wales will be able to secure the tower. Now they look for the inhibitor itself.
The main issue there is that you're bit, so you just die randomly. He's not performing super well in this game, but his damage is quite insane. Like some of the snipes he has managed to land where like half HP on Tom Rio and stuff. CBL unfortunately is not flashing forward, so my bat is still looking a little bit spicy. Come on, CBL. Vit is that. You need to be the ADC. You need to flash forwards into Sunma.
That blast cone nearly knocked Glory into Box Esports, although he's far enough ahead that it might have even worked out, and Box Esports might be able to catch a couple of stragglers of Team Wales. Sunma just looking for a potential engage. Oh, enchanted crystal arrow, well dodged by Slows with a relentless pursuit. As in comes Nugu, he's going to get blown to bits because the Gear Express is making its way in, tied away, finds a knock up onto Glory. No, is not in Meganar. Nugu has a fallen Vit, able to get one kill as Killer Queen falls. Slows playing aggressively.
CBL. Sunma go! Sunma go!
On the run. CBL down to half health. It's the battle of the two undefeated players in the game, but both of them will stay deathless.
Sunma didn't commit to the 1-for-1. Fortunate. Okay, we have to wait with bated breath for the next team fight to see if CBL or Sunma die first. Would be a classic if they just don't die.
Both die at the same time?
Or both die just at the same time. Yeah, that would be cool too. Maybe a dive into the fountain where Sunma trades for CBL. I could see that happening.
Whose fountain?
I don't really care. I mean, it would be kind of weird to be Wales Fountain. I'm not sure what would happen in the game for it to be Wales Fountain.
We don't know what would happen to result in that, but we sure want to see it. Another replay then of this fight, and again, it feels like Box Esports are finding these ways of picking up kills, but they always do feel to be on the back end, mainly due to wallet death.
Yeah. Their team fighting is looking alright. That's exactly why I think you should just pick late game hyper carries and try to gamble on team fights, because I feel like their team fighting, their mechanics, their individual mechanics are maybe not as good as the other teams, but serviceable. Like the biggest difference in teams for Box against any other team is macro. We have talked about this many times, and it's very clear from watching the games. So how do you make macro matter as little as possible? You pick the stupidest KISS team composition you can find, keep it simple, stupid, as the LEC likes to say, and just you just slam Cyan, Aurelion, Soul, and Jinx, and just wait for 35 minutes and win team fights.
Jinx or Zeri?
No, Jinx. Zeri is too hard to play. Slows is not good enough to play Zeri.
Wow, that's a scathing comment your way.
No. Zeri is insanely hard to play. Have you tried playing Zeri?
No, I agree on that, but you just being like, yeah, sorry, Slows, you're not allowed to play. To be fair, do you remember good old Harvey and his packs?
I remember many bad VCS players. You do not even know what bad VCS players are unless you have seen Neven. Yikes.
I've not even heard of. I feel like I've seen that name being mentioned in VCS Discord.
He's legendary. You can you can go to the Discord and type in !Neven and watch him fight Baron very unsuccessfully.
Right,
that's all I've got to say.
After this game,
you have to see that. It's a legendary clip. Another one is !Palette for another classic. We've seen some ins.
I know that one. That's where Palette dies to stop away from crashing under the tower.
Yes, it's the most Hillsong play you've ever seen, and it's not coming from Hillsong. It's amazing.
I mean, did it stop the wave from crashing under tower?
He did, yeah. He gave up 300 gold, so I'm not sure if it was worth it.
No, but he didn't die. It was an execute, wasn't it?
He did die.
Oh, God. Palette.
Yeah.
VCS champion as well.
Also, I really like to see the sign. Look at the sign here. 133 CS, 2-1 and 4, and he has a shutdown.
Yep. He's been flame horizon by Sunma.
He has a shutdown more than 100 CS down. Nice.
A little bit late on the teleport from Sunma himself, as the Baron has already been secured by Team Wales. And while Box Esports are mid, Wales are going to be heading top lane with a Baron. And I'm going to be honest, Box Esports, I don't think you want to be going for a base race against Baron empowered Team Wales with Glory, whose one attack will do about a quarter of a tower's health bar. And that is the inhibitor tower down. That is the inhibitor down as well. And Team Wales might even look to end this game right here.
Oh, CBL had to flash. Okay, CBL no flash. Look at CBL. He could be the target. Ow.
No Sunma, though, in the fight. Had to back because of the Enchanted Crystal Arrow thrown out by CBL. And for the side of MBE, one already down. Sunma does now arrive to the plate. One Nexus Tower has fallen, and Team Wales are showing no signs of slowing down. Sunma just waiting to get into Mega Gnar form. Final Nexus Tower back. Ingo Sunma, he doesn't find anyone with an Gnar ult. And that is one big tool now no longer available for the side of Box Esports. Do Wales wait for their next wave, or do they keep on pushing while they've got a teleport from Nagia? And Team Wales are just going to keep on pushing in. Enchanted Crystal Arrow won't land onto anyone, but down goes the final Nexus Tower. And surely down will go the Nexus. Vit will fall. And I guess both CBL and Sunma will stay deathless as Team Wales take game one.
What a stupid game. It was very fun though. Actually, Sunma, I think all he did that for, jumping in as Mega Gnar, is to have plausible deniability. He was not negative gaming. He was actually participating in team fights. You saw him in there, right? 1v5 in the team fight. Yep. He almost landed his ultimate. Almost. Yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate game. A little bit of a silly one, but let's look at the stats. They look like almost every single game for MBE. It's a big little downward spiral, unfortunately.
The big little down what? What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Sadly, B couldn't quite out-damage Fit in this game.
Yeah, too much poke. I think his auto attack damage was higher.
ADC.
I think his auto attack damage was probably higher than Vit's.
I should hope so, because I'm pretty sure it was Lethality Varus.
You're right. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
A stat is a stat.
A stat is a stat, true. I wonder who got more healing done. Probably Vet. I think he actually had the heal summon.
Yeah, he had the heal summon in there.
Anyway, your way. I would ask you for your thoughts on that game before we go to a break, but I don't really think there is anything more to say than what we have already said. So with that, we're going to head into a break before game 2, and we'll leave everyone with a thought. Or do you have something to add your way?
So we need to do this now every single game they're playing, because we're getting closer and closer. We're now at 15 losses in a row, and we still have to confirm what the actual record is. I think you talked about the LJL team. We talked about them yesterday as well, where they went 0-21 or something, maybe even more than that. So they're still a little bit off, but we do have 28 games for them to play. So it is possible, as far as we know, for them to actually get the negative record. So every single game is getting us a little bit closer. It's getting exciting over here. But all I am worried about is Zodiac having a little bit of a more playable experience in the next game, because this was not okay. This was just cyberbullying, and poor little Zodiac did not deserve this. Even though he's an Inter, he did not deserve this.
As Dory says in Finding Nemo, just keep on swimming. Also, let's not forget as well, with getting the winless run to increase, it is possible to have a 3-game series. So it could be.
No. We're talking game score. We are talking only game score, not series. Game score.
No, I was trying to act stupid. I didn't realize 3 games meant that they can't go 0-3.
Okay.
Sorry,
I don't notice when you act stupid, Milky, because I don't see the difference.
It's weird, right? I just have to be stupid, right? We're going to head to a break, and when we return, we are most certainly going to get a Glory Aurelion Sol performance. It's going to be glorious. We'll see you guys in a bit. Welcome back, guys. Wales against Box Esports. And quite literally, game one was a recreation of 7. What's in the box? There remains.
Sushi, I guess.
Yeah, true. I mean, did he get roasted, though, is the question. Was it cooked fish or...
I think he got run over. So
He
not
got
not very good for sushi either. I think a train crashed into the fish, and there was not a lot left from the fish.
I mean, theoretically, if you go into physics, we would need clockwork to confirm this. But if a train was to crash, would the heat created from the crash be enough to cook the fish sufficiently that it's no longer sushi?
Okay.
These are the important questions that
That's
we
an
ask here at the
interesting
VCS.
theory, yeah. I feel like you're onto something here. What's a good roasted fish dish? I don't know. I have no idea about fish. I find fish
I
disgusting.
mean, I don't think you roast fish.
Or
You
like
tend to fry it or steam it. It was a steamy game, to be fair. But I don't know if there was enough water vapor around to, cook the fish, or if it was, dry steamed, which you can't really do. Anyway, let's talk about game 2. Aurelion Sol, we got to see that in a draft, and then the draft got redone. ASOL got banned. We didn't see Aurelion Sol. I would really like to see Aurelion Sol.
Yeah, please. I haven't been able to cast a single Aurelion Sol game because they don't pick it in the VCS. It's 13.4. Can we please pick this champion that is getting nerfed next patch that everyone else has been playing? Come on, please. Where's my Star Dragon?
To get nerfed.
Yeah, of course. And then we pick it every game. Yeah, that's the VCS way. You're right.
Has it been picked in any of the other major regions yet, or is it just perma-banned?
It has definitely been picked a lot in NA. It has been picked at least once in EU and banned a lot in EU.
Okay.
Was the very first Vitality game where Perks went 5-0.
Of course he did.
I'm not sure about the Asian leagues. Let's see. I think he's not very... he's not actually that much of a thing in the Asian leagues because they put more emphasis on the early game, which has always been like the biggest difference. Let's check LPL. We have pick and ban.
We were talking about Asian leagues in LCK and talking about how they're really focused on the early games.
Yeah, they are. I mean, LCK has been the best early game region in since 2019. No one actually wants to admit that, but it's absolutely true. This is why they win all the international tournaments, because early game is just the most important part in League. Ever since they changed. I think
a few LPL world champions would want to disagree with you on that, but
yeah, I mean, those teams were very good in the early game too. Most of them, FPX maybe not so much, but this is what the LCK teams are always really solid in the early game. That's why they perform so well in group stages and stuff, because if you have a solid early game, you don't lose weird off games as much as LPL teams do. But I can't find it here. I don't think it has been played in LPL. It doesn't look like Aurelion Sol is in the list here on Leaguepedia, at least.
I'm trying to think of any big Aurelion Sol players. I think Caps likes Aurelion Sol a lot.
Yeah, the old Aurelion Sol. I mean, the new one is completely different, right? So we can't really approximate those two. Like, they're just completely different champions. It's not been played in LPL at all, and LPL plays a shit ton of games, so that's a bit surprising. Let's see what does LCK say. I think I've seen LCK pick Aurelion Sol in one of the post-match threads. Ready?
Maybe. Chovy champion. Calling it.
Listed here. I mean, yeah, you would assume so, right? Late game, optimizing for late game team fighting and so on. No, it's not listed here. Maybe it's not updated. But yeah, it's neither LCK nor LPL have it in their list for Leaguepedia at least. That's a bit surprising, yeah. I want to see the Star Dragon anyway. But this makes sense now why VCS doesn't actually want to play it, because usually VCS meta is very close to LPL meta. They just kind of like to go, what does LPL play? Okay, we play this too, even if we don't understand. But I'm still hoping for an Aurelion Sol. I think it could help MBE win a game.
It could.
Yeah, Bulldog played one, right? Yeah, Mabi. I think I saw it on Reddit, so I think it's just not updated on Leaguepedia.
Okay.
So yeah, one game at least in the LCK.
One game in the LCK.
At least.
Can't confirm. Maybe. It was picked. Maybe it never existed. MGN then. Do you want to see them go turbo hard for early game, or do you want to see, as you kind of in the previous game, just pick a late game champions and risk being murdered in the first 15 minutes?
Pick Jinx. Pick Jinx, I don't know. What jungler can we play? Let's try to make a draft for MGN that would give them the best
chances of survival.
Yeah. Or like winning the game. I think a Mumu comes to mind, maybe.
A Mumu jungle?
Yeah. Because been playing
Zodiac on a Mumu.
No. Jungle. I think jungle is better for this team at least. I think Zodiac just runs it down if he goes at Mumu support. So
Zodiac's been alright this split, to be fair. I mean, he's been a lot better than 2022, and I know that's not saying a lot.
That's not saying anything.
He has been alright. He's been probably one of the best.
He hasn't won a single game. You can't say alright to that.
None of the players have won a single game. I mean, to be fair, maybe they should bring Emo in. He's lost less games, but I'm pretty sure Nugu is the better player out of the two, at least from laning stats.
So, okay, let's go super late game team fighting that can also kind of lane. I think top lane we pick Gnar.
Sure.
Because, that's, maybe also K'Sante could be an option, but I trust them more on Gnar. No, not on. We do not want to see VCS on. No. Maybe Malphite. I think Gnar is just easier to play for summer.
Okay.
Malphite could be...
He had a decent Gnar game. I mean, he had a decent Gnar game, but that was because he was playing versus the environment. So I don't know how he does in a PvP game.
He didn't die. That's good.
He didn't die. Yeah, that is impressive. So, okay, Gnar top lane. We said Jinx ADC.
Yeah,
what do you want with the Jinx? Do you want a Lulu? You want an Aphelios?
A Thresh to keep her safe.
A Thresh?
Yeah.
I want Zodiac Thresh, but Lulu's just so much easier to execute. What if Zodiac misses all of his death sentences?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He just needs to press W. Okay. All I want from him is press W to save the Jinx.
Okay.
I don't need anything else. So it's Jinx, Thresh.
Renata W saves the Jinx as well.
Yeah, sure. Renata could work too. I'm not sure if I trust him with Renata, but yeah, Renata could be an option as we head into draft. See, Aurelion Sol is banned. Come on, Wales. Why?
Okay, well, Box Esports have to win this game, so it goes to game 3, and then we can see an Aurelion Sol.
We have another series later.
What do you want for Tom Ryu and Nugu?
Yeah, I think Tom Ryu, as I said, either you go like super late game team fighting like a Mumu, because a Mumu is not actually too bad in the early game on this patch either. So I think a Mumu could be an option. You could also go... No, just some generic jungler, Gragas. Yeah, Gragas sounds okay. And Nugu just goes to Leo or Victor or Azir, something late game positioning, heal heavy for the Jinx.
That is not a Jinx. That's Aphelios locked in. So we're zero from one.
I mean, Aphelios
scaling ADC.
Aphelios requires a little bit more setup and a little bit more hands, but it goes towards the Jinx angle, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not quite as easy to play, but
it's in that, region.
No, this is not the way.
Look, let's be real. Have we ever seen a bad VCS Nautilus? Yes.
No. Every one of them has been amazing. We have never seen 8 deaths on Nautilus in the VCS ever. That's a lie.
Absolutely not. And even if there were 8 deaths on the Nautilus, it's a Nautilus, so it's fine. It's probably got like 8 assists at least. Okay, so we have the bottom lane locked in then for bot.
Suddenly, you're playing in solo queue makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
Dude, why do you gotta do me like that? Thresh locked in, and Wales will be pairing it up with, well, I thought it was going to... Go on, do the Jinx. Yorway got very, very excited for a second.
Mila?
And I'd love it if the Jhin got locked in instead, just to go, full swap angle, as the Zaya's locked in. So a lot of safety for Harky is playing for Team Wales. So Wales getting all of their subs a little bit of game time here.
Okay, Harky in. That's, of course, very exciting for the whole league, because everyone knows Vit has a rather low ceiling. I think his floor is alright. His floor is like low VCS level, but his ceiling is medium VCS level, so you can't really go super far with Vit. He has been Yeah, as you said earlier, he actually has the worst laning stats, and some of the team fighting, especially in the series against Cerberus, was rather abysmal. So I like trying out new ADCs. Let's see if Haki can be an option for the Wales. Now, of course, you have to take into consideration that they're playing against MBE, so any result here is to be taken with a grain of salt. The enemy team has not won a single game, so even if Haki goes 10-0 here, you shouldn't like make sweeping statements about his being superior to Vit, but I still like to see him be tested out. The Zarya Thresh combination is weird to me, but yeah.
My question for you then, Yulwei, is if you want to see this as a litmus test for Haki, how do you want Wales to play? Do you want to see a situation where Haki gets given resources by Killer Queen and Nagia, not to the same extent that we saw in Game 1, but to an extent, or would you rather see Haki and CBL left on their own just to see what they can do in an isolated 2v2 or even 2v3 if Tom Ryu is permanently on the bottom side?
It all depends on the match, right? I don't actually really believe in playing, like setting up resource management before the game and not adjusting them in the game. I think that's a little bit of a narrative thing, but in general, I think Thresh, Zarya don't really strike me as that amazing of a 2v2, especially into Aphelios and Nautilus. Both of those champions should have the advantage after a few levels, so I think it's probably more of a quiet early laning phase for the Wales. I don't think they can set up dives or anything, so we're hopefully looking at Haki's team fighting later on in the game, where he has a lot to work with, a lot of defensive tools with the Thresh added safety, Zarya of course being the best self-peel ADC in the game already. So I think we're looking more to examine his late game performance in this game than his early game. Though of course if he can break out of that spell, or like can dominate the early laning phase, that's even more impressive, but I don't think we should focus on that here.
Renekton locked in, and I'm seeing for Box Esports a lot of backline access with this Wukong as well. The Nautilus having a depth charge. We saw the Rise being hovered in the previous game. Jax locked in for Nagia, and the Rise picked up as well. Box Esports might just look for that one scaling champion hovering the likes of the Victor and the Azir.
Why do you pick Rise Zarya into the likes of Wukong, Nautilus, Aphelios? What is Rise supposed to do here?
1-3-1?
That's like 3 years after the fact and people still bring it up. I haven't seen a Rise win a split push game in like 500 games. So.
Have you seen Rise play a split push game?
He's going to the side lane, but a split push doesn't really exist nowadays anyway as a win condition. It's more of a setup for the lanes, but you still have to go to the team fights. All the Fioras still go to the team fights, all the Jaxes still go to the team fights, so the Rises have to go to the team fights too. Now this Rise has to play into Victor, Nautilus, and Wukong, and even Aphelios. All of those champs will be very hard to overcome for him. I mean, they are kind of short-ranged apart from the Victor, so if he can stay alive a few seconds, he could be able to deal a lot of damage, but I don't understand this absolute obsession, I guess, with Rise, where why are VCS teams indexing so hard into Rise when... I mean, his win rate is good in the VCS, we have seen that, but still, I don't really understand what's going on here. You knew the Victor was very likely to come. Glory just had an amazing Victor performance, and Victor is still available to be picked, so... Yeah, it's a bit puzzling to me, but let's see if Nugu can maybe change the course of our thinking about Box Esports with a good Rise performance, with a Snowball performance. Maybe he can set up his ADC in the bot lane.
I've also just figured out why Zodiac has been having a couple of bad splits, and as some people would say, his support performance has dropped off since a few years ago. He's using a wireless mouse.
Yeah.
Wide mouse gang, rise up. Anyway, we're heading on to game 2 now between Box Esports and Team Wales. Box Esports, I want to say, will be eager to end their loss streak at what is currently 15 games.
15 and counting. Let's take a look at the runes here. We have a very fast Rise. We have Jax actually going for laning phase runes and Grasp. I'm always fascinated to see what Jaxes try in the lane. Most Jax go for Grasp, and I think especially in the matchup against the Renekton, it's quite good to make the matchup more playable. I really like when Jaxes try to go for Lethal Tempo to scale, because if they can get through the laning phase, it's such an amazing rune, but the grass still makes sense. It's still the more consistent rune, and why wouldn't Nagia go for consistency? They know they win every game against MBE if they just don't int. So it's the safer choice, maybe not the most exciting choice, but it makes a lot of sense.
It looks like Tom Rio is going to be starting on his red side. Same for Killer Queen, but Tom Rio is going to be starting on these Raptors. So maybe we'll see an early gank towards the bottom side from Tom Rio, because he does have a lot of setup with slows in Zodiac. Zodiac having the dredge line on that Nautilus and slows. If he has that Gravitum gun available, just adds that extra ability for a gank to really come through successfully.
Yeah, you usually need level 3, level 4 for the gun rotation to go through, because in the early game it's not as easy to rotate through the guns, because level 1 you can't even use your Q, of course. You don't have the Q available, so you can't burn through 10 ammo. Okay, that's a hook.
As I said, it's the VCS. There's no such thing as a bad Nautilus, and Haki loses a few hundred hit points.
Yeah, the trade is kinda even though. Well, you need to be careful. Slows has the added range now stacked up with his lethal tempo in level 1 traits on Aphelios. That's almost unheard of, because usually Aphelios doesn't really get to play the game level 1. Champion without an ability is not the greatest, but in this case, they were doing quite well. They're still getting pushed in, of course. Zarya into Aphelios always goes Zarya's way in terms of the pushing war, unless Aphelios has the blue gun, as we said earlier. That takes a few minutes to set up. But yeah, Tom Rio is setting up the early bot lane gank. I like this reaction here from Wales, already protecting their bot lane with really deep vision. 2 wards placed into the jungle of Tom Rio, so he's spotted on his camp right here.
And will Killer Queen look to steal this one away from Tom Rio? I think he is going to go for the play. Tom Rio won't see Killer Queen coming, and CBL is already making his way up. So in the end, Killer Queen decides, you know what, I'll just go for this blue buff, and Tom Rio just is not being allowed to go into his jungle because he has to play 1v3.
That's really nice done. I like the setup a lot. Team Wales showing us a lot of what Saigon Buffalo is known for the last 2 years. A lot of early game setups, a lot of good planning. And even with new players coming in CBL and Haki, so it's always nice to see these little extra macro performances, and especially against a team like MBE that has been struggling so much with the macro concepts. Attacking them early is a good way to get an early lead with almost no investment whatsoever. And look at Tom Rio. He's completely shut out of the game. He has to stay in bot lane, just looking completely useless there. Has to stay behind the minions to not interrupt his bot lane farm as well. He was spotted with the blast cone as well. Not blast cone, with the vision plant. So they even know he's coming, and they have another ward. Oh my god, this is the horror show for Tom Rio. He's just not able to do anything in this game.
And while all of this is happening, Killer Queen just pathing straight through mid on to Tom Rio's Raptors, and Tom Rio still has a couple of his camps on the bottom side up. I think Wolves are definitely available for him to take. I don't know about
Doesn't look like it.
Killer Queen. The thing is, there's a ward right on it, so I can't...
Nope, it's gone.
Yeah. Did Killer Queen take the Wolves?
Yeah, I think he took everything away from him in the bot side.
Well, Killer Queen's Lee Sin playing well, courtesy of Haki and CBL having a lot of bot lane pressure. And now Nagia is just proxy farming this wave away from Summer, which is not something that you often see from Jax's, but hey, Killer Queen's on the top side of the map, so Nagia has a lot of protection.
Yeah, Nagia is just completely smurfing on him in this top lane matchup right now. Chat is already talking about the matchup, Jax against Renekton, and this Jax invested heavily into laning phase as we have a fight in bot lane.
Being chunked down low, and Slows is so incredibly low, but does survive. CBL pulls 1 kill back, a 1-for-1 in the bottom lane, but critically for Box Esports, it's Slows who gets the kill.
Yeah, Haki not with the best early performance in this game. Had his flash ready. Might have been able to flash away from some of Slow's attacks there. But instead he falls down. Slows with the first blood. Still an advantage in terms of gold to Team Wales overall. Mostly because of top lane. And yeah, this is the weapon combo where you can start to play Aphelios in lane more aggressively. Because blue and purple have a lot of damage between them. And a lot of CC too. So instantly... the trade goes in their favor, even though CBL finds a nice little hook there.
Really nice hook from CBL. Really want to praise Zodiac for finding that very narrow angle to land the dredge line onto Haki. If that doesn't land, I think it is just the kill going the way of Team Wales. However, Flash is still available for all 4 bottom laners, and Tom Ria once again having a look towards the bottom lane, but Killer Queen is hovering around.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to make the point in top lane because the Jax invested into double Doran's items to dominate laning phase. It's not something we see a lot, and of course combined with Grasp, that makes him super tanky and strong in early trades. Here we go, Zodiac in trouble.
Flash forward with a Flayed. Dredge line though does not land.
Uh-oh.
And the resonating strike not able to get the kill on to Zodiac. So it's just the health bars that will diminish for Box Esports, and Tom Rio just hovering around looking for a potential angle to follow up in the play that never really presented itself.
Not able to get the kill there because Killer Queen is not level 6 yet. He wasn't able to use his flash kick to reposition Zodiac into his own team. They do get the flash out of Zodiac, I believe, so he's now a little bit more vulnerable, but I mean, he's still level 5 Nautilus, so not the easiest target to shut down. And Team Wales still with good control on the bot side. Bot lane and mid lane are winning in the trading war right now. And this is going to be the first dragon, and one of the best individual dragons in my opinion. It's just nice on every single champion on the Rift. You get 9 ability haste and 9 attack speed. It's just so nice, especially for the early jungle clears, for ADCs. Yeah, just a really, really good dragon to pick up in the early game.
And an early Drake for Team Wales, just like they got in Game 1. 20 CS lead for Nagia, and Nagia's essentially saying, look, Summer, I know you got a Flame Horizon over me in Game 1, but this is what happens when I'm actually in lane.
Yeah, Nagia was not playing lane. Now he wants to make his laning stats look a little bit better, because unfortunately the last game really messed with our stats. Remember, the early game stats for bot lane were also completely screwed, because Sloth was at, what, 5 CS, while the enemy team was at 40, so this series is going to mess with all our stat keeping. But in the end, Nagia is trying to rectify some of that, because he's almost 30 CS up here at 8 minutes in the game.
It is it's kind of disgusting. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Yoroi, but I see Renekton, and I think you're Renekton. You should therefore win like every single lane matchup unless you're playing against a Quinn or a Vayne.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not the truth anymore. This is also something. Yeah, people still think that, and you expect that to still be true. But honestly, in this year, Renekton is not really that strong of a lane. I mean, he's still a strong laner, but it's okay.
Oh,
that's a good
nice
setup.
Two-man flay coming in, and Glory shows up as well. CBL is low. CBL will fall, but down goes Zodiac. Flash away from Mahaki, probably unnecessary. And Glory, just like in Game 1, picks up a double kill in the bottom lane.
Okay, you have to buy CBL dinner or something after that one. He did everything to set up this double kill. You just let him die for no reason whatsoever. So look at this, CBL is really nice double flay. He gets him under. That is one of the weirdest interaction I've ever seen. And now CBL, they just don't step in front of CBL to block for him against slows. Like Haki could have just stepped in front of his support, and then they couldn't have attacked his
I think
support
Haki
anymore.
dies though if he does that, because Haki was already very low at the end of the play.
Yeah, it did look a little bit like they sold out their support. It's still a double kill, it's a really good play. And CBL set it up with his Thresh. I talked about CBL Thresh in the first game. It's his number 1 champion, the champion he was super famous for, the champion he was better at than any other support back in 2020 spring when he won the league alongside Slater on Team Flash. So it's good to see CBL, a little bit of old school CBL masterclass on the Thresh.
Well, do you actually know what CBL stands for?
Absolutely no idea.
Completely busted lasso, and now he flays under the tower onto Zodiac. Haki will pick up his first kill of the VCS.
Sure, that's what it stands for. I'm sure he knows what that means. As we have another little kill, and Team Wales doubling down on the bot lane. You wanted to see bot lane focus, right, for Haki? And after getting killed in the first blood, they have now invested a little bit more time to set their new player up for success. It's kind of hard to judge him against Vit, of course, where Vit is mostly this weak side player that comes online more in the skirmishes and fights later on, doesn't really play for lane. So far, a decent performance from Haki, but he's pretty far down in CS, so it's not an amazing debut either.
Yeah. I mean, not the best of starts for Haki, and Glory picking up a couple of kills in the bottom lane, and Slow's having 2 kills, and what is now a 20 CS lead does mean that Haki is a little bit worse off than his ADC counterpart, but not a terrible start to the game, and we do have to see how he performs in team fights and skirmishes and positioning. That is Killer Queen looking for a play onto Nugu, flashes out of the
He wants
ground
back in.
well.
You know him.
Now
He
Glory
wants.
is showing up, flash forward with the play. Killer Queen chunk down low.
Oh,
And
Glory.
Killer Queen will piece out, but Killer Queen is dashing all over the place. Nugu will finally fall. Zodiac shows up, lands the Dredgeline onto Glory, which means that there's no support for CBL as Tom Rio is on the hunt. But CBL will be able to back out, and Glory once more, because now Haki's making his way up from the bottom lane. Zodiac forced to flash over the wall, but overall it's 1-for-1 in the mid lane.
I feel like today in the Wales house, they're gonna have some wrestling matches or something, because in this series, and especially in this game, they're all selling each other out by misplaying. This time it was Killer Queen, almost Glory, just missing his Q on Nugu, which led to his jungler dying for no reason, if you look at this again. Really nice CBL, once again, being in the right place at the right time.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, Tom Rio would have gotten the kill anyway, but still, unfortunate miss from Glory there, and all of the players are ready to fight. It's good to see MBE strike back. Tom Rio with this more early game focused jungler. That, I mean, it's not really, but at least a little bit better at fighting and skirmishing in the early game, and it's showing off. Tom Rio, once again, with a better performance. And of course, he learned under Levi, the best Wukong player in the league, so it makes sense that Tom Rio is a good Wukong too.
See, I'm just such a contrarian. I'm just trying to think, is there anyone who's better at Wukong than Levi? And I can't think of anyone. Maybe Beanjay is good, but I don't know if he's better than Levi.
Who is Beanjay? Beanjay doesn't exist.
Beanjay only exists in summer. We all know this. So Team Wells are looking for a play bot lane. Poor Slows, he is now playing 1v4, but he sidesteps all the abilities, and Team Wells are going to be in a really tricky position now. Killer Queen wants to get over the wall, will get over the wall, and CBL, well, he's earned himself 1 dinner. He might earn himself a second dinner. Tom Rio falls, and somehow Team Wells with the damage over the wall. The Chaos Storm, though, doing
Nugu!
Ticking down.
Go!
But the shield from the safeguard is enough, and somehow the Blade Caller from Haki, none of the feathers pull through Nugu.
No, this can't possibly be a 1-for-1, right? This can't be a 1-for-1. No. Oh, MBE. MBE. I mean, once again, I have to praise their reaction. I think they actually played this conceptually as well as they could. They were all there to defend their ADC from being dived on, but then the execution, the positioning is once again lacking in this case. How did someone die from MBE's side faster than from Wales? Let's see this again. I think it was Tom Rio who died, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he gets grabbed into the box and just insta-dies to a lot of burst damage from Glory and Haki. Unfortunate. And then Nugu can't get the execution on Glory. This is so unfortunate. It's so sad to see. So Wales walks away with a 1-for-1, even though they're almost into the whole game away. They need to be careful not to let this spill over into some of their other VCS performances, because I think another team would have punished this one a little bit harder.
I do have to question CBL's death sentence. It almost looked like he was predicting Slows' flash, but Slows had already flashed. Or maybe he thought Slows had Galfos. I don't know. Something else to mention. Nagia, over 10 CS a minute, is incredibly impressive. I do really want to praise him for that.
Yeah, it's a masterclass in top lane, and unfortunately we don't really get to talk a lot about top lane because nothing but farming is happening there. But honestly, Nagia is playing a perfect game. He set himself up for laning phase. He wanted to invest in lane. He went double Doran's blade, double Doran's items and grasp, so full on laning phase, and I mean it paid off. He now is sitting on his mythic. He's really far ahead. He got 3 platings all alone in his lane, I believe. So it's almost impossible to have a better laning performance on Jax against Renekton.
Quick question for you. Wait, why wouldn't Nagia go for Doran's ring over Doran's blade?
AP scalings for Jax are actually quite good. And if you start Doran's ring, I think he started Doran's ring, right? Or did he start Doran's shield?
I want to say Doran's shield, but I could be completely wrong.
So the thing with ring is you get double potion, right? So if you start ring, you have 2 potions instead of just 1. You can only go 1 potion with a shield or blade. So that's most of the time that's one of the reasons. Ooh. I mean,
Death
nice try,
sentence.
but there's a cleanse in the enemy team. Maybe check some of the spells first before you do that.
Well, I mean, they got his cleanse out, right? So
Yeah, for a flash, though.
yeah, but now you've got Rune Prison from Glory, you've got Blade Call available, another potential death sentence. You got rid of a big summoner for the Box Esports ADC. I think that's worth.
Okay, fair enough.
We'll see. We'll determine it objectively as whether it's worth if they are able to either get Slows' Flash when it comes off cooldown, or whether Slows' Cleanse comes off cooldown without anything happening.
Yeah, people are saying mana region is the reason to go for Durant Ring, and obviously that's a nice profit. Oh, we have a fight. No time to theorize.
We'll talk about it later. Zodiac over the wall. See, no cleanse. Let's be honest. Slows would have died anyway, and Haki will be able to secure the kill.
Slows, why do you have to make Milky be correct? Slows, please stop. What are you doing?
I mean, to be fair, even if he had cleanse, I think he's still dead.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because he was wandering into the river alone for no reason. I'm not entirely sure what he was trying to do over there. But there's the nice little lockdown after his lance is blown is... okay, it was actually a nice catch. Okay, we didn't see the start to this, so not so much on slows as just a good collapse and a good call from Glory. Really showing off the Rise. I criticized the Rise, and he is having a really good Rise performance, so never mind.
I mean, it's Glory's Rise, to be fair. It is his favorite champion.
It's also into MBE, to be fair, so it doesn't really count, but...
Yeah. It's
Zodiac, look at his skill order. Zodiac didn't read patch notes. This is gonna... we need to send this skill order over to... What's his name on Twitter? The one who theorizes about all the new builds? Something with M. Molecule, maybe?
Maybe someone I don't follow.
He theorizes about builds and skill orders and stuff, and he's on the crusade for Emax Nautilus. Because apparently that's the higher win rate right now. Yeah, Emax Nautilus seems to be the new thing. And he has E only on 1 point, so Zodiac is not following the trend.
Nah, surely having Q up for the cooldown is better.
So everyone is Emaxing on Nautilus now. All the good players. So Zodiac needs to read patch notes. Yeah, I mean, all the good players. I said that
Well,
already.
as I said, there is no bad Nautilus in the VCS. I will die on that. Just like there's no bad VCS Alistairs, or Lee Sins, actually, for that matter.
Yeah, I can get behind the Lee Sin. I'm not so sure about the Alistair and the Nautilus.
Yeah. I mean, the Alistairs just do badly because Alistair's
Yeah, because it's Alistair, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not actually the
but
player. In that case, it's actually the champion. Most of the time, it's not the champion, it's the player. But with Alistair, it's actually the champion, not the player.
Well, Team Wells with a 5.5k goal lead. Box Esports at some point were able to sneak away a Drake, but it does look like Team Wells will be handing Box Esports their 8th series loss of the split and their 16th game loss as Glory being caught out. But you said it before, this is the fast rise runes, and the rest of Team Wales are in for the rescue. Down goes Nugu, down goes Tom Rio, and Team Wales want more. A teleport coming through, though, from Sunwell.
No!
The game kept alive by the safeguard. Eventually, an auto will come through, but the rest of Team Wales have joined into the play. Out comes the Feather Storm from Hagi. They're looking for Zodiac. How does Zodiac not get rooted by the Blade Caller? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Team Wales will be able to get 3 kills for 1.
Slows is trying hard. Slows is really trying to change his opinion, my opinion of him, because he's putting in a lot of work. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the items to carry this team fight. If this is an Aphelios with 2.5 items or 3 items, I think they hard smash the team fight. This is exactly why I think MBE should try to invest into hyper carries, because their team fighting is not too bad, and the enemy teams tend to end into them because they disrespect them. So just look at how many auto attacks Slows gets off here, and his positioning stays pretty good in all of the fight. The ult might have been a little bit too early, but he has the stacked lethal tempo. He gets a lot of damage onto Nagia. He actually gets the last hit. I think that's a Q with that's a green auto attack that gets the last hit on Nagia there, and he stays safe. Keeps himself out of trouble and deals a lot of damage in the fight, so some potential for Slows. I'm still holding out for the one game where they maybe have the late game team composition and get into the late game even, and Slows and Nugu can carry together.
Well, Box Esports are quite far behind, and it might be difficult to get into the late game, but if they can, Slows is looking very, very hot this game. 4 kills, 3 deaths, 2 items completed. He can be an absolute menace if given time in team fights, which he was given in that fight because, well, all of Team Wales weren't present at the fight for about 10 to 15 seconds. And if Box Esports can get another fight like that, maybe it is a path for them to get back into this game.
Yeah, check in with Nagia at 111, so his stat line doesn't look too great. He's still 50 CS up, and he's working on the second item. The one thing that always irritates me about Jack's builds is if they build super aggressively, like he's doing right now, if they go for the Spear of Shojin, the build looks really weak because Spear is so insanely expensive that you're sitting on 2 items, while other Jaxes have 3 or 4 items because the tank items are so much cheaper. But of course the Spear brings so many nice stats to the Jax, so once he finishes that second item, he's gonna be a menace. And here we have the team fight.
Looking for the play, the Realm Warper coming in. Team Wales want the fight. They want to end the game. Burst it down is a Tom Rio. Big Moonlight Vigil. Chaos Storm as well. Flay onto Sunma. 2 kills for Team Wales. Sentence lands on a 2. Nugu flashing away. The Gale Force. Forward, Haki gets 1, another kill, the flash forward, the root, and the triple kill for Team Wales, the ace overall, and the Wales will march forward in the mid lane.
Not just any ace, that's a 5-0 at 22 minutes. Yes, they were ahead, yes, they just got Baron, but a 5-0 this early on in the game is really a testament to their focus and their shot calling in the fight, their fight calling. They are done with this match, they are done with this week of VCS as they finish the Nexus off in under 23 minutes. What a sudden explosion from Team Wales and from MBE's Nexus. 0-16 now.
Team Wales start off the second round robin in the perfect way with a win to cement their spot in 3rd place in the VCS Spring Split, and they looked really good while doing it as well. Yes, game 1 was a little bit weird, but they did what they had to do. Game 2, a few questionable moments, but again, they played it out really, really well.
Yeah, in game 2 overall, a much more solid performance, I'd say. Yes, they had some oversteps, yes, they had some mechanical misplays. That's bound to happen, especially with so many substitutions and so many roster changes in between games. But yeah, I'm still really impressed by the Jax performance in the early laning phase, generating so much pressure and generating such a huge advantage in side lane and just the overall, even in team fights, right? Jax against Renekton on this kind of lead, he was 2 levels up, he was 50 CS up, 2 items finished, so he's gonna be a much more threatening team fighter than the Renekton. So, amazing performance from Nagia, as we are going to take a look at the stats for the last time in this series. 22 minutes, 29 seconds, 15-5 in kills. So, once again, a dominant performance. But it's not all zeros on MBE's side. They did get a tower into Drake.
Yeah, and they had an ADC with the most damage in the game as well. So... You know how I like to ask you completely unfair and unreasonable questions that there's no way to logically and realistically answer?
Shoot.
Wait, what did you say?
Shoot.
Chewed?
Yeah, the question.
Oh, okay. Haki or Vit?
I'm a Vit hater. I'm always gonna go for Haki, even though he didn't look amazing. I've seen too much of it. Like, I know the ceiling of Vit, and the ceiling of Vit is not good enough for Wales to contest for the title. So just go for the unknown, I feel like. I mean, my answer would actually just be OG, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. So I guess Haki is the answer.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, it seems that Haki has passed Yolway's litmus test for his debut VCS performance, and I think the litmus test was just that his nameplate didn't read Vet. But with that, we're going to be heading into a break, and when we return, we'll have our second series of the day as our other 3rd place team, SBTC Esports, take on our former 2nd place team in Summer Split, Saigon Buffalo.